Welcome, fellow argument lovers. This is Mark Adam with another episode of Mark Adam Objects. Okay, this time we'll be looking at a clip from the Whatever podcast. It's a little debate between Andrew Wilson and Naima Trout. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. Apparently it was supposed to be a debate about feminism, and we're just going to be looking at voting rights discussion, which is certainly related to feminism, but in this case is at least half another one of Andrew's rabbit holes. I may have to stop watching Andrew for a few weeks. Everyone has their strengths, but he seems to be really good at nitpicking or sidetracking others, but horrible at not moronically justifying his own ideas. I was hoping Andrew's actions in the last video that I did about him were an anomaly. Instead, it seems they're becoming a normality. First, Andrew does a bunch of thread pulling, trying to cast dispersions on our current system that tries to include everybody that we can, and then turns around with his own three brilliant suggestions, which each one seems to be more laughable than the one before it. But let's have a look.
Laws apply to them. They can still be sent to prison. They fit both of your criteria. Therefore, if you say they shouldn't be able to vote, your worldview's in contradiction.
Well, then I think that's wrong. I don't believe that children should be tried as adults until they have become adults.
So no laws apply to children?
No.
Well, then why shouldn't they be able to vote?
A threat to public safety always applies to everyone. Threats to public safety always apply to everyone.
Yeah, but why shouldn't they be able to vote if laws apply to them? That's your example.
Laws apply to children, but they are not in practice punished in the same way that they apply to adults. It's applied differently.
Can they be punished?
Of course they can
Then
be
why
punished.
can't they vote?
But you have to have some way to maintain societal control. Children aren't just allowed to do whatever the fuck they want because they're kids.
You need to be able to have some sort of societal control. So
Yes.
this would mean necessarily disenfranchising some people, wouldn't it?
It would mean necessarily disenfranchising children. Yes, they're not adults.
No, it would also mean disenfranchising prisoners. Do you want prisoners to vote on their right to own guns in a prison?
Not their right to own guns in a prison.
Well, then you're
But I do
disenfranchising
think
them.
Andrew likes to hold others to rock-solid, black and white only definitions of their position. He does this whether it completely misses the point or not. But when it's time for him to come up with a proposal, it seems he scattershots with three ideas that don't seem very thought through, or at least aren't presented well, and yet he's adamant that, he's got the solutions. Pretty incredible. Her position is completely reasonable, that children have not yet become adults, and that is something that is equally applied across the citizenry, And then as an adult, you have the right to vote unless you've become a felon danger to society. Meanwhile, we'll see his proposals, and he wants to disenfranchise people in ways that aren't even comparable to disallowing children and prisoners. Completely ridiculous.
Did you say ridiculous?
Disenfranchisement should exist so long as someone is a threat to public safety. The reason why prisoners are not allowed to vote who are currently in prison is because they are a threat to public safety.
16-year-olds aren't a threat to public safety.
No, but they're children. You can't allow anyone to vote
So you
who's a
can
child.
arbitrarily disenfranchise people based on the fact that you think they're not capable of making good voting decisions, right?
No, a child is legally different than an adult.
Because they can't make
You can't have sex with a child. That would be statutory rape.
Because they can't make good decisions?
No, because they're legally classified as a child. Do you not understand what a
Because
child
they
is?
can't make good decisions.
Because they're 2 and 3 and 4. They're not legally an
So
adult.
they can't make good decisions.
No, they can make good decisions, but generally speaking, you can't have children vote. There is a
I
legal
agree
age
with
of vote.
you. You can't.
Okay.
As we'll see, Andrew uses his can't make good decisions mantra as a springboard to it's justifiable to negate 90% of the population's right to vote if they don't jump through his hoops. Even Evel Knievel ain't trying that jump.
You should listen.
Do you think it's a good idea for wives and husbands to be able to vote against each other's interests?
They should both have a vote, yes.
Well, but they can vote against each other's interests, right?
That is circumstantial. They may not, they might.
Yeah, they may not, they might. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But why is it good that option's even there? Seems like a terrible idea.
Because in a representative democracy, everyone should be represented with a vote.
Yeah, I get that's a descriptive truth, but you're not telling me why that should be the case. If I were to give you the counterclaim here, I would say if you had like one household voting or something like this, it would be much more uniform and wouldn't divide families against each other. And that's exactly what the vote has done.
First of all, it's very amusing that as picky as Andrew is when it comes to everyone else's positions, that his first disparagement of the current voting system is, it seems like a terrible idea. I think it's easily demonstrable that Andrew holds his opponents to higher standards than it seems like that's bad. And then he goes further by having the first positive thing he says about his system that he proposes, the one vote per family system. He points to its advantages in uniformity. Since when is uniformity a goal? Of course, the less and less people you involve, the less and less parts you have, the more something becomes uniform. But then ultimately, he's a proponent of dictatorships. What gets more uniform than one person making all the decisions? I think that's what Andrew would truly like, if he's honest, is the Wilson dictatorship. And exactly how many families are being divided against each other because of voting? Extended families, maybe, but husbands and wives? And let's look at that as an actual scenario. Let's say husband wants to vote Trump, wife can't stand him. Does it somehow make the situation better, the family stronger, to force wife to vote Trump? She'll go, shit, I don't really have a say, but uniformity.
You're around the fringe. You're fighting on an exception. We're talking about the general population.
Even
right
in
now.
the general population.
I'm not talking about murderers.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about
So
serial
let's start
killers.
with
I'm
this.
not talking about school shooters.
I don't think it's, generally speaking, a good idea to let 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds to vote, to disenfranchise the votes of people who are politically informed, because they're being used as a leverage voting block for elitists. And that's what's actually happening. What's actually happening was what you just said. You know, NGOs and lobbyists are lobbying Congress to get various things passed, and what they do is they try to leverage the votes from a tribalist purview in order to get the things that they want, right? And 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds are highly impressionable, right? So are 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds highly impressionable. And one way that you could eliminate this idea that they could be gone after by the parasitic NGOs who run things is by simply limiting the ability to vote to people who have such a political interest that they actually do social service for up to 5 years, so that then we can trust them with the right to vote.
Just for the record, as much as no one likes NGOs and lobbyists, they're a natural outgrowth of our system. People are busy in their lives. They can't be there for every issue and every person that they'd like to support. So the support gets pooled into groups, political action committees, NGOs, lobbyists representing different larger groups of people, and their word gets in. The problem is congressmen and leaders that give that outsized weight, and that is up to us to police by voting them out if they aren't rational about their decision making. But Andrew just puts 18 to 25-year-olds under the same naive, susceptible to influence umbrella, as if that's not all humans. I mean, is he crazy? Certainly 6-year-olds are more impressionable than 30-year-olds, but so are 30-year-olds more impressionable than 55-year-olds. And here we are back to the dictatorship. His solution to offer 5-year unpaid civil service positions, which would then allow someone the qualifications to vote, seems less like information and more like indoctrination. And don't we go to 18 mandatory years of school to be prepared to vote? If it's failing, which it is, that should be addressed. But no matter how low the boat sits in the water, we're all in it.
I think it's hilarious that you keep calling democracy tribalism.
It leads to tribalism, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Full democracy leads to tribalism.
So
There's
does
no way around
sports.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so does sports. Sure.
so should we ban sports?
No, why would you ban sports? That's a total
would you
non sequitur.
ban-
It makes no sense.
Why would you ban a huge percentage of the population from voting?
Because I would want to avoid political tribalism so that elitists can't exploit low information voters, which they do right now, in order to enslave the planet.
So you're basically saying that people are too stupid to have the right to vote?
Yes.
That's dumb.
Andrew likes to kind of move the goalposts as it suits him. His initial point was that you don't want to pit husband and wife against each other, dividing families. But then when sports is brought up, which divides families possibly on a weekly basis, he acts like it comes totally out of left field and switches the emphasis to the NGOs and elitists enslaving the world. Now that's a hell of a goalpost.
I mean, do you have a statistic on how many of them are?
Yeah, you could do street polls. A lot of people have no idea what's even going on with the issues. A lot of people are just bussed to poll booths. They get bribed to do it. This happens on both sides of the aisle. Like, how many times have you seen canvassing campaigns who go out there and they're canvassing, they knock on doors, that people don't even know what the hell they're talking about?
So what, you think we should do an IQ test for everyone to have the
That's
right
been
to vote?
suggested, right? But I have a better plan than an IQ test. I would not disenfranchise a person from being able to vote because they have like an average IQ.
Yeah.
What I would do is disenfranchise a person to vote if they were low information. One way I could find out if they were really politically motivated is if they sacrificed years of their lives to the state in order to get that right to vote.
So you want to punish people for being stupid?
No, I just don't want them to nullify well-informed votes from people who are smart and on the issues and understand the issues.
But taking away someone's vote would be punishing them in a sense.
It's not punishing them.
Yeah, it kind of
It's
is.
actually stopping them from punishing themselves and the rest of society because they're easily exploited by social elites.
Apparently, Andrew's ideal voter is a stupid person that turns himself over to the state for 5 years for brainwashing. Odd. And so what if people are uninformed when canvassers come around? They're busy. That doesn't mean that when the election comes, they can't make a decision in the binary. This president or this president. Yes or no on this proposal. They're not setting policy. They're saying yay or nay every once in a while.
It's like, no, you really can't. Like, there's a lot of people who are just going to be fucking janitors, okay? There's a lot of, okay?
All right.
There's a lot of people who are just going to be fucking janitors and who are just going to be fucking toilet bowl cleaners and who are just going to be fucking bartenders and are really not meant to build fucking rocket ships, okay?
I know, but there's still...
What's wrong with laying brick?
Nothing.
There's nothing wrong with it. That's somebody's home I'm building.
Right. My dad laid brick. Okay? Busted his ass so I can have an education.
Exactly. That's an honorable profession. What's wrong with fixing somebody's car? Someone will get to work the next day because of me. There's honor in that.
subject to laws, so they
Yeah, I
still get
know,
a
but
say.
just being
and it's
but
frustrating,
don't
but it's
you-
just a fact.
Yeah,
If I want
yeah.
free will and they want, and you want free will, and we deserve the right to vote, then they do too.
No, you're not eliminating free will by this.
You are,
You're
though.
protecting the rest of society from low information voters destroying their lives.
Well, I don't think that stupid people are nullifying all of the votes of smart people.
Really? Think
mean,
about what
all
you just
of
said.
them.
Can you
Not
think
all
about
of
what
them.
you just? Do you
Not
think there's
all
more
of them.
stupid people or smart people?
In this country, yeah, it's probably more.
Okay, so you really
Yeah.
don't think stupid people are nullifying the votes of smart people?
On a certain level, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they still deserve.
Wow. The jump from talking about elitists to laughing at janitors was shockingly quick. What jerks. Did anyone see Andrew's rocket launch? I missed it. I'm sure there was one, but yeah, I didn't see it. And regardless, voting is not rocket science. Even at the lowest level, it's at least getting an instinctual idea or sense of a candidate. Or maybe you're a one-issue voter, or maybe you tend to go with the crowd. All legitimate. To the extent that there's shenanigans, to the extent that there's stupid people, they tend to cancel each other out. They're called humans. They're called Americans. Power to the janitors.
Carl,
What?
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How does one become a janitor?
You want to be a janitor?
No, I just want to know how one becomes a janitor because Andrew here, is very interested in pursuing a career in the custodial arts.
Let's see if we can.
System would work in terms of those who are participating in some sort of civil service.
Yeah, so you would have some type of civil service, right, which a person would participate in for at least 5 years.
5 years?
Yes, unpaid.
5?
Yes, unpaid.
That's ridiculous.
Why? Do you think that the person who participated in it for 5 years unpaid would really want to be politically informed by the end of that? Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that's 5 years of not having, like, that's 5 years of, like, housing is paid for, food is paid
service
for.
guarantees citizenship.
So can I ask who's paying for 5 years of millions of people participating in a civil?
Well, chances would be pretty good it wouldn't be millions, or at least not hundreds of millions of people participating in such a system.
So
It'd be
you
a
would
very
like to
low
limit the
demographic.
voting block in this country to less than, there's 430 million people in this country, and you'd like to limit it to less than
330 million.
hundreds of millions?
It's 330 million in the United States, I think. 336 million or something.
Regardless, you would still like to limit it to, I misspoke, my bad, but you
Yeah.
would still like to limit it to less than, you would like to limit it to hundreds of thousands of people?
Yeah.
You think it's fair for hundreds of thousands of people to speak on behalf of 360 million people?
Do you think it's fair right now to have 100 senators do that?
No, but we still vote for the senators. We
Yeah, I
vote
know,
for
but
the senators,
do you
though.
really think you're getting...
They don't just
hang
walk
on.
up and say, "Hello,
do you,
sir, I would
Do you
like to
think
be a
you're
senator."
really
Like,
getting
you're voting.
Wait, you think you're really getting political representation inside of a state like New York with 2 people?
First, it has to be pointed out the vagary that Andrew allows himself to get away with compared to how he attacks his opponent. We've heard him disagree with the system because it seems like a terrible idea. We've seen him make a voting proposal himself, something like 1 vote per family, something like. And then proposal number 2, civil service. What kind of civil service? Some type of civil service. Oh, thanks. Then the proposal itself. He would want people unproductive for 5 years in regular society, while other countries function with a fully individual and ingenuitive population. That seems like a terrible idea. Then if you're going to get a maniacal grin on your face because you're sure after 5 years someone would be invested in politics, why not 10 years? Why not 20 years? Imagine how invested you'd have to be after 20 years. This seems like the minimum wage argument. Just not used to hearing it from someone on our side, supposedly. I don't understand how he thinks he can have it both ways on the representation. If 2 senators isn't enough for the state of New York, then they'd need more, correct? But that's not his rationalization. His rationalization is, we're already woefully underrepresented, so if we make it worse, fuck it. It's like, yeah, I got a cut on my leg, we may as well amputate.
I know, but inside the state of New York, do you really think the state of New York is getting adequate political representation on Capitol Hill with 2 fucking people?
Well, that's why you have the Senate and the House, and the House. is
2
based on-
people who are your senator. You really think
Every
that
state gets 2 senators.
100 people are representing 330 million people? At the very top, it's 1 person who's representing 330 million people's
So are you
interests.
advocating that we shouldn't have government?
No,
at all?
what I'm saying to you is that, like, it's very silly for me to look at an argument like you're making and say, oh my God, 100,000 people are going to be in charge, or 200,000 people are going to be in charge. Like, ultimately, 1 person's in charge.
So you're saying
Ultimately, 1 person's in charge.
Then why change anything, Andrew? Isn't that your ultimate uniformity?
Want to do like the civil service way? You could do 1 vote per household. That would limit the voting significantly. Hang on.
Okay.
And it would be not expensive at all. But
Okay.
there's even another way that you can do it on top of that. Another thing you could do is just eliminate anybody being able to vote until they reach the same age that they could become president of the United States.
Is that not 35?
Mm-hmm.
35 should lose the right to vote.
Why shouldn't everyone under 35
That
be
was the
able?
most boomer shit I've ever
Why
heard
shouldn't
in my
everybody
life.
under 35 be able to be the president of the United States?
Well, because they don't have the, but they're still,
Why? Answer the question.
because they do not yet have the experience in politics to run an entire country.
So
but just because
yeah,
you can't
exactly.
okay, Andrew, but just because you can't run an entire country doesn't mean that you should still not have the right to have 1 singular vote. It's 1 vote.
What do you?
He actually says exactly to the requirement that people be as experienced to vote as they would be to run the country as president. Yeah. So we'll close with that. And thank you all for making it this far. And we'll all, put Andrew in your prayers. And I'm no therapist, but if anyone is, and they've got some advice for him, please reach out. Thank you.